I hereby call the August 15th, 2022 Planning Commission to order. Madam Clerk, please do a roll call.
Commissioner Glenn is absent. Commissioner Allen.
Here.
Commissioner Chesbro.
Here.
Commissioner Rubio.
Here.
Commissioner Kendig.
Here.
Commissioner Glaschen.
Present.
Commissioner Scoggin.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, are there any additions or changes to the agenda? Commissioner Chesbro?
Yes, I would like to move unfinished business, item 12, to September 19th because there was an error in posting. It was not posted on the website, despite the fact it was in our packet.
All right, Commissioner Chesbro has moved that we move unfinished business to the next meeting on September 12th, 19th. I wrote it down right. I remembered it wrong. Do we have a second?
I'll second that. Yeah.
All right. It's been moved and seconded to move unfinished business to our September 19th meeting. Is there any objection to that change in the agenda? Hearing and seeing none, the agenda is approved as amended. Mr. Strawn, would you please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, now comes the exciting part, listening to me read. The consent agenda. We have the minutes from the August 1st, 2022 meeting. We have introduction for public hearing quasi-judicial matters. PC Resolution 22-26 and conditional use permit in accordance with MSB 17.30. Conditional uses for earth materials extraction activities for the extraction of approximately 6.3 million cubic yards of earth material from an extraction site totaling 154.5 acres within two parcels, which total 657.5 acres. Tax ID is number 20 North, 20N, 04W, 08A, 001, within Township 20 North, Range 4 West, Sections 7 and 8, Seward Meridian. Public hearing is September 9th, 2022. The applicant is the Matsu Borough Division of Land Management. Staff will be Mr. Weisenhunt. We also have PC Resolution 22-28, conditional use permit in accordance with MSB 17.60, conditional uses for the operation of a marijuana cultivation facility at 1198 East Sage Road, tax ID 18N01W, 15D005 within Township 18 North, Range 1 West, Section 15, Seward Meridian. Public hearing is set for September 19th. 2022 applicant is Derek Clark and Janet Clark of Checkman Harvest Company. Staff is also Mr. Weisenhunt. Is there any objection to approving the consent agenda as written? Hearing and seeing none, the consent agenda is approved. All right, so we'll move on to audience participation. Any member of the audience that would like to speak on any matter not before us tonight, will have 3 minutes to speak. Madam Clerk, was there anyone signed up? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on something that's not on the agenda tonight? Is there anyone online? All right, is there any objection to closing the public hearing? Hearing and seeing none, public hearing is closed. We'll move on to public hearing legislative matters, PC Resolution 22-25, resolution of the Matanuska-Susitna Borough Planning Commission recommending approval of an ordinance repealing MSB 17.05, essential service utilities. Public hearing is tonight. Mr. Strawn is the staff. Before we get to this, I believe Commissioner Kendig would like to make a brief statement.
Yeah, I sit on the MEA board, and although this is dealing with all utilities, I just wanted to disclose that I do sit on that board. But it is a legislative matter, so this isn't the final decision of the Planning Commission. If if it was quasi judicial, I would absolutely recuse myself, but I don't have any monetary gain or loss from this, so I don't see any reason not to be here for the discussion.
Thank you, Commissioner Kendig. Mr. Strawn, would you like to give your presentation?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Alex Strawn, Planning Director for the Borough. This ordinance comes at the request of Assemblymember Sumner with the sort of logic that I think he just witnessed Matanuska Electric go through this process, and in his words, after going through the process, they just did what they wanted anyway, so why have it? And he made that comment at an assembly meeting, and then later on asked me to prepare this ordinance to repeal this in its entirety. This 1705 was adopted in 2007 and regulates really type 2 essential service utilities, which is pipelines as well as electric generation lines over 50 kilovolts. And it is due to go to the Assembly October 4th. So I'm hoping we can tackle it either at this meeting or at the meeting in September. So, but I'll answer any questions that you have, how we administer this process or what the standards are. I think the point that Assemblymember Sumner was making is that there are no standards. It essentially requires that a utility company go through, basically have a couple of meetings, and then at the end, they just have to show that they went through this public process. There's no actual standards for approval, and that was the sort of the impetus for getting rid of it.
Thank you, Mr. Strawn. Any questions from the commission for Mr. Strawn?
Yeah, Alex, did you say 50 kV or 5?
It's 50 kV.
Any further questions for Mr. Strawn? Commissioner Chesbro?
So I'm understanding that this does not come to us.
Correct. So when a utility company goes through this process, they come to us and say, we're going to go through this process, and we kind of familiarize with them with code and let them know what they need to do. They need to go through the process, and essentially at the end they say, here you go, we went through the process and here's the comments we received. And there's no approval. The planning director doesn't approve it. The planning commission, the assembly, there is no approving body except for just verifying that they went through the correct process.
Do you have a follow-on for Mr. Strawn?
No, it's puzzling to me, I guess, that's all.
Any other commissioners have questions for Mr. Strawn? The chair has one. So as written, the current code has no provisions allowing conditions to be imposed by the borough. It's just have a public process. You did the public process, it's over.
That's correct.
Thank you. All right, I will now open the public hearing for PC Resolution 22-25, resolution of the Matanuska-Susitna Planning Commission recommending approval of an ordinance repealing MSB 17.05. Ms. Fisher, you're signed up. If you would please state your name and spell your last name, you'll have 3 minutes to speak on this matter. It'll turn green.
It's green. All right. Yeah, my name is Patricia Fisher, Fisher, and I am speaking in opposition to 22-25, which seeks to repeal MSB 17-05. I think it's a tremendous disservice to the residents of the borough for it to be repealed. The recent outreach by MEA for their new transmission line makes it very evident that the public should be fully informed of essential utility projects. Community response to MEA's outreach was extremely high, and MEA did a great job in going out and talking to everybody. That, to me, was not a problem. I was told by Assemblyman Sumner that it is the responsibility of the Alaska Regulatory Commission to oversee utilities, not the borough. Do you know what the RCA does to inform the public? They post it on a website, on their website, on the computer. You'd have to go out there very frequently to find out if there was anything there that was going to affect your community. After that, do they go out to the valley to talk to anybody? No. Do they go to any community organizations to explain what they're doing or what the utility is requiring that the utility do that? No. So the community has very, very little information or ready access to information coming from the RCA. Based on RCA's normal process, it is evident that they are concerned with tariffs and service, not land use. Land use is a borough issue. Land use was the issue that was of most concern in the case of the new MEA transmission line, land use. I believe it is your responsibility to protect the residents of the borough from utility projects that affect land use, that are detrimental to the public and to a community, that are an infringement on personal property, or that are not the wisest decision for the public in a community. Public outreach should not be limited as proposed by 22-25. So I urge you to do your job, protect the residents of the borough in continuing the requirement for public outreach. If the ordinance, as Mr. Sumner says, even though he's whatever, does not have any enforcement, then the ordinance needs to be changed. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Are there any other members of the audience that would like to speak on PC Resolution 22-25? Please step forward. State your name, spell it for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Can you also sign the form up front?
Absolutely. Thank you, Chair Glassen. Greetings, Commissioners. My name is Amber McDonough, MCD-ONO-UGH. My husband and I have owned property in the Fishhook area for over 20 years and support responsible development that preserves our community's character. We oppose Resolution 2225 to repeal Mat-Su Borough Code 1705 for essential service utilities. Without 1705, there is no other forum for Mat-Su residents to voice their concerns about the impacts of infrastructure projects or to encourage utilities to adopt mitigation measures. Instead of a repeal, we hope the Commission will seek to amend 1705 to better protect public and private land use. 1705 was tested during the Planning Department's recent review of Matanuska Electric Association's Fishhook to Pittman Power Project. The northern route of this project transmission line includes 10 remote miles of 100-foot wide right-of-way clearing across the floodplains, wetlands, and farmlands north of the Little Sioux River. Hundreds of Mat-Su residents participated in the code's mandated public participation, from MEA's open house in May 2021 through the utilities appeal hearing this past April. Despite overwhelming public concerns about the northern route, 1705 did not protect landowners. Currently, the Planning Department Director can only confirm MEA completed the required public participation. He cannot ensure the utility's decisional document incorporated all feasible mitigation measures to enhance the welfare of borough residents and properties while minimizing negative effects. Rather than appealing 1705, the Commission could actually fix the code's flaws. Based on recent experience, I've submitted a red line version of 1705 as an amendment with several key changes. It increases the engagement of the Commission, Planning Department, and the Assembly. It shifts the responsibility of the public hearing from the utility to the Commission. And it also clarifies the borough's review criteria and procedures for approving the utility's decisional document. Only the borough is empowered to defend residents from the long-term land use impacts of utility projects. Not the Regulatory Commission of Alaska, nor any other agency provides adequate public outreach, advocacy, or protection. It is the borough's responsibility, and by extension, the Planning Commission's duty, to be engaged with large utility projects affecting land use. Amending 1705 is the only way to ensure utility projects align with the best interests of the borough by incorporating community development plans and addressing public concerns to limit any detrimental impacts to private land and public resources. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak on PC Resolution 22-25? Yes, sir. Please step up, state your name, spell your last name, and sign the sheet when you're finished.
My name is Joe Irvin, IRVINE. I am not authorized to speak on behalf of the the Fisher Community Council. I am a board member there. I did participate in the lengthy discussion and drafting of our comprehensive plan for the Fisher Community Council. And I concur with the two previous speakers. They're much more eloquent and in detail than I am, but I'm opposed to repeal of this resolution, and instead would ask you to recommend having put some teeth in the discussion and the development and the decision in how for example, this MEA line was created. The choice was made. There was extensive public comments. This is not coming from necessarily a NIMBY standpoint. It was just, there was an awful lot of concern in terms of how this was not really conducive to what we have in our comprehensive plan as far as land use and mitigation issues. It opens up access to a huge area that is habitat concern, loss of habitat. With an access route, we know that people will poach in those areas, not just animals, but also just trespassing. So once again, I would like you to, instead of repealing this, recommend that the borough put some sort of impetus on following or at least addressing public comment in their final decision. Thank you.
Sir, if you could please sign the sign-in sheet. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak on PC Resolution 22-25? Is there anyone online? All right. Queue up the first online person. You'll have 3 minutes to speak on PC Resolution 22-25.
Hello, my name is Ben Rayevsky, R-A-E-V-S-K-Y. I'm here today to encourage this body to not remove MSB Code 1705, a law that gives the public a voice in the way that utilities are delivered to them. This law gives the public, as a requirement, a voice so that the pencil pushers will hear from the public and give value to the resources that are at risk by installing utilities. This notion of public comment encourages buy-in from the public and develops community cohesion. To remove it would eliminate buy-in and create a negative public image of this body and the image of the utility, not to mention the impacts to what the community values. This law was designed under the tacit agreement the utility would listen to the public and, using that feedback, install utilities that the public needs while protecting the community's values, assets, and as these assets will be around far longer than we will, they need our protection. Mr. Sumner has stated that MEA ignored 90% of the public comment. This is absolutely true. I appreciate that he's at least listening, but his response is concerning. I question his fitness for office if his first inclination when perceiving a problem with a law that gives voice to the public is to silence the public, which removing 1705 would do. This body does have some draft legislation in front of them that will give the public voice, and 1705's strength as MEA is no longer operating under the tacit agreement in which 1705 was constructed. This issue also brings into light another concerning issue with an elected official. Mr. Kendig has not recused himself from these discussions. Legally, he doesn't have to due to some legal definition of what we're discussing, but morally, if he is voting on a matter which concerns an organization which he works for, and that matter would make it easier and less expensive for that organization to operate, then at the cost of the public voice, we have a conflict of interest. And in the interest of removing the possibility of developing less trust in our public officials, he should recuse himself. During the comment period for the power line project, I've talked to many public officials, the MEA, or the permitting office, ADF&G, and others. They all say that they have no way to stop MEA from doing what it wants, to whom they want, for whatever reason they want. I know this can sound a bit like complaining. Sorry. So we should make it so that they can't, because we're actually paying for that utility. That's our money that they're investing to provide us the opportunity to pay them. Now, I know this can sound a bit like complaining, but Mr. Kendig could show that he has a conscience in this matter and realize he needs to recuse himself on principle, even though the law states that he doesn't have to. To participate would show where he sits when it comes to self-governance. Mr. Sumner, you will need to start representing the public instead of working to silence them if you want to continue your career as a public official. Alaska is in the middle of great change. Extraction of resources have been good to us, but recently hasn't been very consistent, and the future of extraction is not very bright. We need to start protecting the resources and assets inherent to the state and leveraging those to the long-term benefit, not cashing in on some short-term gain at the sacrifice of long-term prosperity. What will we do when there are no more assets to extract? The time when we extracted assets as our primary income is fading and has no future. The only way to know what those assets are and how best to use and protect them.
All right.
Did I get shut off?
Yes, sir. Your 3 minutes are up.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next person online, you'll have 3 minutes. Please state your name and spell your last name for the record.
Hi, my name is Camden Yaley, last name spelled Y-E-H-L-E, and I am speaking on behalf of the Meadow Lakes Community Council. The Community Council would like to submit the following comments in opposition to Planning Commission Resolution PC 2225 that would repeal the code mandating public outreach for major utilities.
Ma'am, you, as a member of the community council or representing them, you will have 5 minutes.
Okay.
So we'll start the
my
clock now.
statement's fairly short in any case. Is now the proper time for me to read it in?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. I will continue in that case. The Community Council was an active participant in the recent MEA Fishhook to Pittman transmission line routing and substation siting study, both as a member of the planning focus group and as affected residents and businesses. The existing code requirement for public outreach is working and allowed us to inform MEA early in the process about issues and benefits of various routing options. In the end, we did not get everything we wanted. However, MEA committed to working with us to reduce impacts near senior housing. Without the Borough Code mandating public outreach, none of this would have happened, and impacts to residents would have been more significant. MEA cannot be trusted to complete reasonable public outreach without the code requirement. The Alaska Regulatory Commission that oversees utilities is not involved in this level of necessary community outreach. The benefits of public outreach are to build a better project, to increase transparency of process to the public, and to avoid and reduce litigation costs stemming from bad projects and impacts. The membership of the Meadow Lakes Community Council voted to submit this comment of opposition to the Planning Commission that would repeal the code mandating public outreach at the August 10th, 2022 meeting. And that is my whole comment. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else online? One more person online. Please state your name and spell your last name for the record. You'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Beverly Cutler, C-U-T-L-E-R. I'm a 48-year resident of Alaska and a 45-year resident of the Valley. I wish to support everything that was stated previously by Ms. Fisher, Ms. McDonough, Mr. Revsky, Ms. Yaley, but I'm not acting in cahoots with them. I'd like to speak up for myself. I did actively participate in the public meetings and comment for the new proposed Fishhook to Pittman line. And the things that occur to me that haven't been said by the 4 previous speakers that are worth thinking about are as follows. First of all, we have far more people in the Valley now than we had when I first came to it. And even since the date Mr. Strawn identified as the date this ordinance was originally passed, it's only for that reason that we have more people who should be listened to and more reason to include our community. We should consider the amendments to the ordinance that Ms. McDonough has proposed and not scrapping the entire thing and the notion of this type of public input that would be responded to. I did work with Amber, with Ms. McDonough on the proposed ordinance, and I have contributed to it And I know there are ways in which it could be additionally improved, but I think it's a very good step forward. I'd also like to point out that the line that MEA proposes to build and many similar of its nature, it is not an emergency to approve of it quickly. So there's no reason why public input could not be had and could not be worked through. And I think MEA was very upfront about that. They said, we're acting in advance so we can be prepared for the future 3 and 5 years from now. But that should underscore every reason why the public should be included in the process and also be listened to. And while all of its comments cannot be heeded, most of them can and will contribute to a better valley for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else online? Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak to PC Resolution 22-28? Hearing and seeing none, is there any opposition to closing public comment? Public comment is closed. All right, I will now entertain a motion for, I guess first we'll go to Mr. Strawn. Is there anything that you heard from public comment that you would like to respond to?
Nope.
All right, I will now entertain a motion for PC Resolution 22-25.
I move, I don't know if this is proper motion or not, but I move that we not approve Resolution 22-25.
We can't have a motion in the negative. We would have to address it.
Okay, so
later.
just for discussion then, I move that we approve
it's-
Resolution 22-25.
Okay, Commissioner Kendig. Is there a second to the motion?
I second.
All right, Commissioner Chesbro seconds. Before we move on with this, let's just remember what we're here to discuss is repealing the ordinance. We're not here to discuss whether MEA followed the procedure. That MEA was kind of the catalyst for this. So let's keep our discussion where we can to our thoughts and opinions on removing the ordinance, not getting down in the weeds on what happened in the past. So Commissioner Kendig, as the maker of the motion, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the ordinance. I think it's a good guideline. I won't get down in the weeds of what happened on the last one, but I just think there's no need to remove the ordinance. So I'll be voting against removing the ordinance.
Thank you, Commissioner Kendig. Commissioner Chesbro?
I agree. I think we want to promote public input, not have it. And I will be urging us to think about amending 22-25 to make it more, I think, reliable, valuable, make it more like a planning commission thing for land use. It doesn't seem like, it seems like it should go to the planning commission somehow. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Chesbro. Any other comments from the commissioners?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
We received a lot of comments, and there were some really thoughtful, well-written comments there. And it's just clear that people want to be involved in this process. And some of the things we heard today, I think, promote that idea as well. I mean, I think Judge Cutler made a very good point about the population of the valley and how it's expanded so much since this was originally written. If we're going to do anything, we should be modifying this to give it more teeth. And so I do actually look forward to future discussions about making changes in that regard. But then the other thing that occurs to me that this is something that I mentioned last meeting about a different ordinance, is industry was not here even asking for us to do anything. I mean, what's the problem? I didn't see MEA here saying, please, you're jamming up all of these projects. We've got this huge calamity where we can't put in power lines because we have this, ordinance. It's so arduous. That hasn't happened at all. So all of the discussion we've got has been completely one-sided, saying this is a really bad idea. Don't repeal this. So I'll be a no vote.
Any other commissioner comments? I just like to say is I agree, it's good to have public process, but if there's no teeth in the resolution or no authority to mandate changes, it becomes kind of pointless. And I really encourage people to think beyond this MEA transmission line, because we've got other utility projects coming. Think about the gas pipeline. How many hundreds of miles of Borough is that going to cross with cleared right away, with access like that? As we get more power generation with solar and hydro and everything. I don't think this is something that should go away, but I do think that it should be, I don't know, full conditional use permit. I'm not sure that it goes all the way there, but it feels like a more appropriate process than the way it's written. So those are my two thoughts. Commissioner Kendig, did you have more?
Yeah, I look forward to further discussion about amending the 17.5, but I don't know. As with you, I don't know that conditional use permit is necessary. I don't know that we could even put it under that process. The railroad's a utility. Could we require a conditional use permit for the railroad? It's a legal question, but I don't think that will be possible. But I do look forward to amending it. I don't think the utilities are going to argue about having a more robust public process. So again, I'll be voting not in favor of this.
All right, so are there any proposed amendments to PC Resolution 22-25? All right, seeing none, is there any opposition to passing Resolution 22-25 as written? All right, looks like we're having us a vote. So a vote in favor of Resolution 22-25 would result in recommending to the Assembly that MSB 17-05 is repealed. A no vote just says that we don't agree with the resolution, and we can address that at a future date if we decide. So place your votes. Madam Clerk, could you count that tally? It looks a little difficult.
Motion fails 6-0.
All right, with that, PC Resolution 22-25 has failed. As a reminder to everyone in attendance, we are an advisory commission, so the Assembly can still do whatever they want. Mr. Strong?
So as I've said in previous meetings, the way that you communicate your will to the Assembly is through resolution. So if it's the board's desire, we could prepare a resolution that you could take on in unfinished business at the next meeting, if that's your desire.
Would the board like to do that? I'm seeing a couple heads
Yes,
nodding down
please.
there.
Yes.
Commissioner Chesbro, Scoggins. All right, Mr. Strawn, would you please draft us a draft resolution for hearing at the September 19th, 2022? That'll get us a chance to discuss it before the next Assembly meeting. Oh. All right. So we are on to new business. Nope, we have no new business. Upcoming agenda items, Mr. Strawn, anything you want to warn us about?
Just as always, we've prepared a memorandum with upcoming agenda items. If they're quasi-judicial in nature, please refrain from discussing them or with members of the public or amongst commissioners.
All right, Madam Clerk.
Our next meeting isn't until September 19th. Then following that, October 4th, and then we have a joint Assembly Planning Commission meeting on Tuesday, the 11th.
Thank you. Ms. Beaudelet, anything for the commission? Nope. All right, Commissioner Scoggin.
No comments.
All right. Commissioner Glenn's not here. Commissioner Chesbro?
I think the whole issue of public input is really vital as we move forward in this borough. We are growing, as Judge Cutler said. We have in many ways neglected our overall plan. And so we're sort of doing it piecemeal, but I think a vital part is including the public in the conversations about things that affect them. So I appreciate all of the comments that we received, and I appreciate the vote.
Thank you, Commissioner Kendig.
Through this discussion, it came to me, I really miss Mr. Eugene Haberman. I would have loved to hear what he had to say on this subject.
I'm sure there would have been some, with all due respects. Commissioner Allen,
I don't have any further comments. Thank you.
Commissioner Rubio.
Nope, no comments.
All right, and from the chair, I'd just like to warn everybody, I would like to call a work session at some point in the near future. Nothing too long, just looking at how the board is going. We've got a lot of new faces. We did a lot of Teams meetings, those sorts of things. So I know some of us know each other through our board time or business relationships, but getting together either before a meeting or a different time, half hour, 45 minutes, kind of introduce, chat, get to know each other a little bit, no decisions, talk a little about procedures and whatnot, those sorts of things. So I'm working with Jason a little bit on an agenda for it. So we'll get it public notice, and we'll have Carol take a poll, do people want to show up early before a meeting? Do we want to do it when there's a regular meeting that we don't have any business? Just kind of figure out what's least impactful for everybody. So just a heads up, that's where that will be coming from once we can get it organized.
So I would like to be part of that, especially the next meeting, which is September 19th, I believe. I will be remote, and I'd sure like to know how to work that Teams better so I'm not echoing like I was last time. So I'm going to need some help with that.
I'm sure if you reach out to staff, they will certainly get you up to speed on that. I'm not sure that IT will travel with you to where you're going, but wait, where are you going?
I'm going to Gettysburg.
I'll come with you and show you how to work Teams. All right, and with that, we are adjourned at 6:37.